That's a song by Nick Drake called One of These Things First. I first heard Nick Drake. He did, or one of his songs was used in the John Cusack movie, Serendipity, kind of a rom com, I guess. And I was like, oh, that's a very unique kind of breathy, folky kind of music with the layers of guitar and piano. I just really liked it and started checking out his stuff. And this song is a different one. This isn't the one that was on that soundtrack, but I really enjoy it. Although a lot of his songs kind of sound similar. So you know, if you get one Nick Drake, if you heard one Nick Drake, you've heard it all, I guess. Good morning, Vaqueros. This is DJ Doc V. You're tuned in to Office Hours, and it is Friday, October 25th. 10:05 a.m. here in the beautiful upper Rio Grande Valley. Blue skies, 79 degrees outside. And looking for a high this afternoon of about 90 with partly cloudy skies. Another great weekend in the valley. For those of us down here, 92 degrees as a high today. Tomorrow, high of 90. Sunday, high of 90. Slight chance of rain, but then back mostly sunny skies Monday and Tuesday, up in the 90s again. But it's been quite nice. I'm in fact leaving campus at about 5 o'clock or so, between 5 and 6, sometimes between 4 and 5. I would say that I was able to drive with my windows open instead of having an air conditioner on. That's always nice. Once it gets a little bit cooler, I'll even turn my air conditioner off at home and open up the windows. So I'm looking forward to that day when we get down a little bit more. Um, that is one thing about the valley here. Oh, the beautiful weather. Everybody wants to come here. Yeah, but it's the same all the time. It doesn't really ever get chilly. We had that deep freeze a couple of years ago in February, where power went out. It was a horrible situation in Texas, but I look forward to when the temperature gets down a little bit. So, as we do every week on Office Hours, we'll have This Day in History at the bottom of the hour and another poem from the 2024 edition of Gallery Magazine, another fine UTRGV student media publication. Got some great music picked out for you as well. So make sure you stay tuned, including a couple of Tribe Called Quest songs to commemorate their induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and a special request going out to our friends on the East Coast there, Bill and his beautiful wife Erica. Got a John Denver song coming at you a little bit later. So, but for now, let's get back in with the same kind of vibe. You'll be able to identify the connective tissue between the Nick Drake song and then this one. This one's by Ray LaMontagne. It's called Trouble. Only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station, with Abraham Martin and John. Great song. It's an oldie. Boy, that comes out in the 60s. Notice, along with the music, the lyrics talking about some very significant Americans getting assassinated. So you'd like to think that it's a hopeful song, but it is reviewing some of the darker moments in American history. But so that was Dion, Abraham Martin, and John. Before that, you heard another great song related to one of my favorite TV series of all time, Breaking Bad. Horse with No Name by America. That was a great scene when Walter White lips off to highway patrolman and gets a nice mace in the face for his trouble. So for those of you Breaking Bad fans like me, you remember that time. And then we started off that with Trouble by Ray LaMontagne in that set. Good morning, Vaqueros. DJ Doc V here with you for Office Hours, 10:21 and 79 degrees here in the beautiful upper Rio Grande Valley. We're looking for a high of 92 today with mostly sunny skies. And what's going on this weekend? Let's see. Today, women's tennis is at the Bearcat Invitational. And then tomorrow, men's tennis is at the SLC. Or pardon me, also today, men's tennis is at the SLC Southland Conference Fall Championship, Women's golf is taking on Texas A&M Corpus Christi today at 2. And then let's see what else is going on this weekend. I think we've got folks in town. Women's volleyball taking on Nichols tomorrow at the field house at 2 o'clock. Women's soccer over at Northwestern State on Sunday. So make sure if you're able, if you haven't been to a volleyball game at the field house, boy, they've been fantastic this year. I've been to 2 of them so far, and a lot of fun to cheer on your Vaqueros. The upgraded field house, if you haven't been in there, it's got some nice, comfortable seats, which is a nice improvement in some of the general seating, particularly for volleyball. Once we get into men's and women's basketball, they're a little bit more strict when it comes to seating and being in the sections that you bought tickets for. So if you want to check out those great seats, go see women's volleyball tomorrow, 2 p.m. at the field house here in Edinburgh. This week, I forget how I first heard about it. It must have been on one of my social media feeds that they did the 2024 induction ceremony for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, I have to say, in the past, I have been very critical of the Rock Hall inducting people that I would argue are not related or not rock and rollers, right? Mary J. Blige, for example, Public Enemy. These are hip-hop folks. And I'm like, well, hip-hop should get its own Hall of Fame. But there is some connective tissue between the two. And then when I saw that this week, one of my favorite hip-hop bands of all time, A Tribe Called Quest, who are from Queens, where I'm from originally, they were inducted to the Rock Hall, and all of a sudden I feel differently about hip-hop artists in the Rock Hall. I'm like, oh, now I get it. It's just for recognition. So whether it's the Rock Hall or the Hip Hop Hall or whatever, the Kennedy Center, whatever, honoring our artists is important, especially those that make such significant contributions to arts and culture here in our country. Hip hop was born here in the United States, as was rock and roll. You could argue. If we want to go back to Elvis, right, taking on the blues and giving it a little twang and some hip swivels, turning it into rock and roll. So Tribe Called Quest inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Boy, they had a really long segment where they were inducted. Dave Chappelle was inducting them, and then Jarobi and Q-Tip were present to accept the award. Any of those Tribe Called Quest fans know that Phife Dawg, who was the integral part and actually was best friends with Q-Tip, passed away from cancer about 10 years ago now. Such a shame. And then Khalid Sheikh Mohammed wasn't able to be there. Is that his name? Some Sheikh Mohammed. He wasn't there either. But Phife Dawg's parents were there, so that was really cool. And then they had some folks play a medley of A Tribe Called Quest songs performed live. It was Busta Rhymes. It was Queen Latifah. It was Common. It was Questlove on the drums. It was just fantastic. Really great presentation there in front of the audience for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I thought, in commemoration, I got to do a double shot of A Tribe Called Quest right now. The first one here off of, actually, what I didn't realize it until I heard it there. This is from their second studio album, which was called The Low End Theory. This is a song called Excursions, only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. That's from the soundtrack to Men in Black, that last one there, A Tribe Called Quest with Same Old Thing. It started off the double shot from Low End Theory, their second studio album. That one is Excursions. But we're talking in the studio about that record. Boy, there's just not a bad song on that record. That whole album, Low End Theory, is just fantastic. So Tribe Called Quest, getting the recognition that, quite frankly, I think they deserve. Even though I used to carry on about hip hop folks being inducted in the rock and roll into the Rock Hall. Hey, I'm all for it now. I'm such a hypocrite. Oh God. As we do every week on Office Hours, we've got this day in history, starting off in 1929 on October 25th. The Teapot Dome scandal. Albert B. Fall, who served as Secretary of the Interior in President Warren G. Harding's cabinet, is found guilty of accepting a bribe while in office. Fall was the first individual to be convicted of a crime committed while a presidential cabinet member. As a member of President Harding's corruption-ridden cabinet in the early 1920s, Fall accepted a $100,000 interest-free loan, quote-unquote, from Edward Doheny of the Pan American Petroleum and Transport Company, who wanted Fall to grant his firm a valuable oil lease in the Elk Hills Naval Oil Reserve in California. The site, along with the Teapot Dome Naval Oil Reserve in Wyoming, had been previously transferred to the Department of Interior on the urging of Fall, who evidently realized the personal gains he could achieve by leasing the land to private corporations. In October 1923, the Senate Public Lands Committee launched an investigation that revealed not only the $100,000 bribe that Fall received from Doheny, but also that Harry Sinclair, president of Mammoth Oil, had given him some $300,000 in government bonds and cash in exchange for the use of the Teapot Dome Oil Reserve in Wyoming. In 1927, the oil fields were restored to the U.S. government by a Supreme Court decision. 2 years later, Fall was convicted of bribery and sentenced to 1 year in prison and a fine of $100,000. Doheny escaped conviction, but Sinclair was imprisoned for contempt of Congress and jury tampering. Here's another little interesting thing about the Teapot Dome scandal. Theodore Roosevelt's son, Teddy Jr., was also kind of tangentially involved in this scandal, since he was also serving in the cabinet of Warren Harding. And Eleanor Roosevelt and some friends of hers drove around in a car with a paper mache teapot that was attached to the top of the car, and they kind of followed him around wherever he went, where he was doing a campaigning, because he was running for office too as a candidate. And just to antagonize him, they kept driving around with this car with a teapot on top. And again, he was really only tangentially involved, certainly not as involved as Fall and Doheny, but it dogged him enough that he was really upset about it. And later on, Eleanor Roosevelt said, maybe we went a little too far. Now, keep in mind, just to give you some context, the Oyster Bay segment of the Roosevelt clan, which was Teddy Roosevelt and his family and his children, Kermit and Teddy Jr., they weren't always on great terms with the Hyde Park clan or branch of the Roosevelt family. The Hyde Park clan were Democrats, and the Oyster Bay Roosevelts were Republicans. So there was, I don't want to say no love lost, because they were a family, but after Teddy Roosevelt passed away, in 1920, I believe it was, the two branches of the Roosevelt clan just really never got back together, unfortunately. So, interesting little piece there on the Teapot Dome scandal. Also on this day, in 1964, Minnesota Vikings Jim Marshall runs the wrong way with a recovered fumble. That's a bummer. Right? In 1980, on this day, Australian rock gods AC/DC earned their first top 40 hit with You Shook Me All Night Long. That was in 1980. In 1881, Pablo Picasso, the painter, was born. In 1764, John Adams married his long-term wife, Abigail Smith, who became Abigail Adams, and they were partners throughout his presidency. And finally, in 1954, President Eisenhower pledges support to South Vietnam. This was essentially a function of the Red Scare, North Vietnam was leaning communist, and if you recall the domino theory, worrying that if North Vietnam fell, then South Vietnam would become communist, then Southeast Asia would become communist, and just the anxiety over communism around that time in the country resulted in the United States committing not just resources in the form of military aid, but also troops eventually serving in Southeast Asia, in Vietnam, and in Laos. So that's this day in history, as we do every week on office hours. But for now, let's get back to the music. Here's a song, a special request going out to Erica in Massachusetts there. Here's some John Denver with Take Me Home Country Roads. James Taylor with Country Road. Only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. Thanks for tuning in, Vaqueros. DJ Doc V with you for another 10 minutes or so. Before that one, you heard Jim Croce with I Got a Name. And we started off that set with a special request going out to Bill and Erica in Westboro, Mass. That one was John Denver, Take Me Home Country Roads. And we had a little sing-along going on here in the studio. It was nice to see people sing along with that one. It's a classic. Classic. Taken much too young, John Denver. Such a tragedy. But it is 83 degrees here in the beautiful upper Rio Grande Valley. Sunny skies. We're looking at a temperature, a high temperature today of 92 degrees. Still looks like a pretty good weekend here in the valley. 90 degrees tomorrow with mostly cloudy skies. 91 as a high on Sunday, the 27th. Monday, a 91. Tuesday, high of 92 with mostly sunny skies. Just a slight chance of rain tomorrow. About a 25% chance of rain tomorrow, so we'll see. Make sure you're prepared for the weather coming out. Must be beautiful out on the island. If you're heading out to the beach this weekend, that'll be great temperatures out there for the beach on South Padre. So make sure you head out there and enjoy our beautiful amenities here in the Rio Grande Valley. It's also 51 degrees in Grand Rapids, Michigan today. A little shout out to Seth and his new neighborhood there. He's probably on the job. 38 degrees in Spokane, and again, right now, 83 degrees and sunny skies here in the beautiful upper Rio Grande Valley. Make sure you check out women's volleyball tomorrow, playing at the Field House. They're taking on Nichols. That'll be at 2 p.m. And women's soccer on Sunday is out at Northwestern State, so they're on the road. But make sure you're supporting your Vaqueros wherever you can, on whether it's online or heading out to the Fieldhouse to see a game. It's a great venue. Make sure you check out the Fieldhouse when you can. As we do every week, I've got a great poem picked out for you. This is from the 2024 edition of Gallery Magazine, and it's a poem titled Soda Tin Can by Itzel Flores. Soda tin can, are you so hollow, without your owner's hands? Are you at peace from where you stand? Do you feel pain or sorrow just as I, soda tin can? You hold privilege and stance, not aware of what lies below. 6 feet from your owner's hands, why must you be the border man, withholding her shadow? Not I, but you, soda tin can. For I bear tears just as grand as yours, so narrow, like our time with your owner's hands. Though now you're rusted and bland, soon you will follow. Soda tin can, what will become? What will we become without your owner's hands? That's a poem titled Soda Tin Can from Itzel Flores in the 2024 edition of Gallery Magazine. Make sure you pick up your own copy here on campus in Edinburgh or on Brownsville, on the Brownsville campus. There are magazine racks located throughout the campus. Generally in the student union, this would probably be your best bet picking up your own copy. And you can check out Gallery Magazine on social media. And you can check out Pulse Magazine on social media. Right after you check out Vaquero Radio on social media, make sure you're following us on Instagram, that you're friends with us on the Facebook page, that you're following us on Twitter. You'll get, reminders of the programming that's coming on through the week. There's fun reels that we do on Instagram that are fun. And make sure, if you haven't already downloaded the Radio Garden app on your smartphone, make sure you do that so that you can listen to Vaquero Radio wherever you go. While there may not be original programming 24 hours a day, 7 days, we're broadcasting, and you'll be able to hear music and stingers and PSAs and such 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year with the Radio Garden app. And if you've got Bluetooth in your car, for your car radio, you could just hook us up, listen to us in the car on your way out to South Padre Island. It'd be fantastic. Or wherever you are, not only in the United States, but around the world. Radio Garden app allows you to listen to radio stations all over the world. We hope that you'll listen to and favorite Vaquero Radio whenever you use the Radio Garden app. Got a few minutes left with you, and I think we're going to take it up a notch since it was mostly folk and kind of mellow tunes. Let's do something a little different and take it in a different direction. Here's the Minutemen with This Ain't No Picnic from their record Double Nickels on the Dime, only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station.